Let's make a shirt. So this is actually going to be my first video where I make a piece of clothing. Recently, I've been seeing these front tie blouses all over my Instagram feed, and they're so cute. And I ended up making one out of a tablecloth that I got from Facebook Marketplace. So I'll put a picture up so you can see the shirt. And I love the style, but for me, I have to wear a tank top underneath it because when the ties close, there's still a little bit of space in the front. And I don't want to show my skin in the front, so I ended up wearing a tank top underneath my blouse that I made from the tablecloth. So I want to make another tie front blouse, but this time I'm going to add some hidden buttons. So when you close it, it overlaps in the front. You still have the ties, but you have some button closures just to make sure everything stays closed. I also want to change some things from what I did from the other shirt, like making a little V-neck. I don't want it to have a collar, so no collar, V-neck, and I think I want to put a little peplum ruffle at the bottom. Just to add like a different style. So I already have the pattern drafted, so I'm going to make some changes and pick out my fabric from my fabric stash. Because I have a lot of fabric that I've been hoarding and I want to use something that I already have. So let's check out my fabric stash. Okay, so there's two places where I keep my fabric. I have fabric in here. I definitely want to use a woven fabric. I've been really into this like blue striped fabric lately, but I have some other ideas for that fabric. Oh, I forgot that I recently picked up this. All right, so I'm back up here now. I have this pretty fabric that a friend got for me. Thank you, Laura. That could be really pretty. I also have some fabric that I made. I made that stamp. I made a block print. Now I also keep fabric up in this cabinet. So these fabrics I'm saving for a friend's wedding. Well, two friends' wedding. I'm making dresses for their wedding. These are such pretty, these are Liberty fabrics that I've just been holding on to. And I don't know what I'm gonna make with them, but you know those fabrics that you just hold on to? I have these like pretty cotton fabrics. I was thinking maybe this one. Some of these, like this is all knit. I have ideas for these fabrics. I'm gonna look through, think about it, and I'll let you know which one I pick. All right, I found the perfect fabric. I've been holding on to this for so long. I got it in Philadelphia, and it has these embroidered flowers on them. And I have about 4 yards of this. So I think I'm going to do 2 layers for the top part and then just one for the peplum and the sleeves. So I'll have plenty of fabric left over if I want to make a skirt or something else. I I always get so nervous about white fabric, but I think this will really make my vision come to life. And I'll be very strategic where I cut to make sure the embroidery is in a good place on the shirt. So now that I have my fabric, I'm going to make some adjustments to my pattern. Okay, so let me show you what I'm thinking for my pattern pieces. I drafted a long sleeve pattern, but I'm gonna make it a short sleeve shirt. So the only thing, I can just keep this and just figure out the length that I want and fold it over from here. So I don't really have to do adjustments on this. The front, I've figured out where I want my V to go and just kind of followed the curve there, folded that over. I wanted to stop here because I want to add a peplum. And then I also think I want to add a dart here to add some shape to the top. So I'm going to trace this on a different piece of paper so I can add the dart to my pattern. And the only thing I have to do for the back is figure out where I'm going to fold it over to match the front. Oh, and since I also want this to overlap a little bit, I'm going to extend the front so I can add buttons. So I'll probably extend it about an inch on each for each side. Okay, here is my new front pattern piece. I extended it an inch. I added the V-neck neckline, and I added this dart by cutting, turning, reconnecting here and there. It's kind of like a cheating way of adding a dart. I hope it works out. I guess we'll find out together. And I'm gonna wait to cut the peplum because I want to construct the top first, and then I'll figure out how long I want it to be. So we're gonna start cutting our fabric. Once all my pieces were cut out, I took the front 4 pieces and I marked where the dart was going to come together at the edge, and I folded it to meet the tip point and just put in pins to mark where I would sew. Since my fabric was white, I didn't want to mark it too much with chalk or marker, just because I get nervous that it's going to leave marks. So I sewed the darts and tied the ends of the thread together. After I finished all 4 darts, I pressed them towards the side. Next, I took 2 front pieces and sewed a back piece to them, wrong sides together, because I'm doing a French seam. So first wrong sides together and then right sides together. So I tried this on and the armpit was a little tight. So I drew in blue what I'm going to take off, and I'll use that as a template to go on all of my other pieces to take that off. And then the back piece was a little longer than the front, so I'm going to remove that from both as well. And I remembered this when I made my other blouse, so I want to make sure that I keep this piece so I can fix my pattern piece so I don't keep making this mistake. Okay, there are the two top pieces. And now I'm going to, I think I'm going to do a French seam putting them together. So I'll do wrong sides together first. I'm going to do the edge and the neckline when I put them together. Okay, here she is. She's looking cute. I'm gonna take a second to think about what I want to do for the buttons because I want to add some interfacing, and I don't know if I'm just gonna add it right in here or wrap it in fabric and then kind of stitch it in here. I do want to do a top stitch around just to hold that in place, but I think I'm going to switch gears right now and do one of my favorite things on the sleeve. So let me show you that. So for the bottom of my sleeve, I'm going to be using my serger to make a rolled hem. So for my serger, I had to remove the left needle because it only requires one needle for the top. I removed this little piece called the stitch finger and put it off to the side. And I changed the stitch length that I normally have set at a 3 to the R setting. Now when I feed my fabric through, it makes this really beautiful rolled hem finish. And the bottom of the sleeve is done. I love using this feature on my serger because I think it makes really professional looking finishes. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears and I'm going to start working on the ruffle at the bottom, the peplum. So I measured out 1.5 times the width of my blouse and stitched them together with a French seam. So I want to attach this before I decide how long it's going to be. And I'm going to do a rolled hem on the bottom of this too. So I want to attach this first to my shirt, but I want the edges to be curled in, but I'm only going to do the top little bit because when I do the rolled hem, I want to do it all the way so when it's hemmed in, it's nice and neat, but I don't know the length that I need, so I can't do this rolled hem yet. So I'm going to just do like 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches. Hem the side up here, and then put 2 rows of gathering stitches in to gather my ruffle. So after I added my gathering stitches, when I pulled the threads together to gather it, I really didn't like the way it looked. Maybe because it's a little bit of stiffer fabric. I just didn't like the effect it was giving me. So after I finished this step, I ended up just hand pleating it, and the fabric laid a lot flatter, and I just used pins to hold it in place. So I'm really thinking about before I add the ruffle, I want to figure out how I'm closing my shirt because if I'm going to be using buttons, then I need to put interfacing in the layers to secure the buttonhole and the buttons. So I'm going to pause for now. I'm going to think about how I want to close the shirt. And hopefully I'll come up with a good solution and continue on tomorrow. See you then. All right, we're back. I racked my brain all night. Oh, there she is. And I decided that I'm going to use a snap, just one snap, right in the front middle, just to make sure everything lays nicely and closed. And then I'm gonna add the ruffle, then sleeves, then bows. And I should be able to finish this up today. So let's start adding that snap. So to add the snap, I cut these very teeny tiny pieces of interfacing that I just want to sit right behind the snap because I don't want there to be major blocks of solid white since this is kind of a sheer fabric. And I'm placing it right behind the main fabric. And when I sew it, I want to catch the interfacing and the seam allowance, which is nice because since it's a French seam, it will be nice and flat and will give the snap something sturdy to hold on to. But I don't want to go all the way to the back lining fabric because I don't want to see the stitches from the other side. I'm not the neatest when it comes to hand sewing snaps, but they're secure, it got the job done, and I was ready to move on. And here is my hand pleated peplum. So that is going to go in between the two layers, the outer layer, and the lining piece. Okay, I have the pins holding the pleats. I have the clips holding the ruffle in between my layers. And now I'm just gonna sew. I'll probably do about a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to serge this just to finish it because I couldn't figure out how to do it in a French seam. So for this, I'll just serge it. Now, normally I'm very strict about removing my pins when I sew because I don't want to break a needle. But in this case, I found it very helpful to just leave the pins in, and I was very careful stitching around them. All the pins survived, my needle survived, and I survived. So it was a big success. Okay, this is the best part. So I'm gonna find the armhole, reach in for the ruffle. There it is. Yes, it worked. So I'm going to take the pins out, finish the edges, and then press it. And I'm going to put it on and see what the length is and if I want to shorten it or make it longer. But before I could finish that seam, I had to set up my serger back to the original 4-thread overlock stitch. And I don't really mind setting up my overlocker multiple times because it gives me practice and I'm pretty good at setting up the different stitches if I do say so myself. And once I finished that seam, I looked at how long I wanted my peplum to be, and I kept it the same length that it was.
So then I just set my overlocker back to the rolled hem setting and finished the edge of my peplum.
I'm so happy with how this is turning out. I'm going to do top stitching. I wanted to be able to finish this edge, so when I fold it over, I'm going to do top stitching here, just all around, and I'm going to make sure that I go on the other edge of the snap just to like secure it more. Then I'm going to baste, so just do a long stitch along the armhole to keep those two layers together. And then I'm going to finish up with the sleeves. Okay, so for my sleeves, I'm going to do some ruching. So I put some elastic thread in my bobbin. So you can see it's a little thicker, it's a little stretchier. And I'm gonna make 3 rows of ruching on each sleeve. And I'm just gonna use the edge of my foot to measure the distance between the 3 rows. After my shearing was done, I used a French seam to enclose the sleeve. And after I finished enclosing the sleeve, I attached it to the body of my blouse. And last but not least, I'm gonna make up some bows. I literally almost forgot this part. So let's make them up. I ironed the edges in, folded it in half long ways, and then folded each long edge to meet the middle, and then I folded that in half and pressed it. Brought it to my machine, sewed around the edges for 6 pieces, and my blouse is complete. so overall I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yeah, I just top stitched these bows. I like how it closes, it's nice and flat. I like my little snap there, making everything closed and secure. And of course I'm a huge fan of rolled hems, so I'm gonna be doing that a lot more for my next upcoming projects. The darts worked out. They might be a little high, so I'll have to remember that for the next time I use that pattern. And of course I ended up throwing those little pieces out that I used to adjust my armhole, so I had to go back and compare the pattern piece to the shirt to make sure I took out that armhole piece, but I'm proud of myself that I fixed my pattern, so I won't make that mistake again. Yeah, and that's it for this video. So if you enjoyed watching, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.